Hey folks, it's time for yet another custom lesson. This one has been requested by Asagi. I have a build request idea. Weapon, sword, and whichever other weapon you'd like. I go with Kusarigama this time. Guardian Spirit, Janomecho. I rarely see anyone use her as the main, and your choice for secondary. Soul cores can be any combination of Nyotengu, Tate, Eboshi, Tatarrimokke, or Itsumade. You can use just one or all, your call. The rest of the cores are up to me. So that was a lot of freedom, and I was definitely intrigued at doing that, but let me just show you what I'm working with this time. So I actually use all the soul cores that you listed out, and let's just go through what I put on and why. The only extra cores that I use that you didn't have requested are listed here. We have Aberrant Soldier and Waira, and I'll explain why. So I decided to put Ancient Nyotengu on a Feral core with Janomecho simply because I find that it combos pretty well in Yokai Shift. And Feral is generally what I'm going to play most of this character in. There will be moments I use the Brute Guardian Spirit, which I'll show you in a moment. But let's get on to the Feral stuff first. So Ancient Nyotengu is on here. All I cared about was Yokai ability Key Pulse. No need to rank this up unless you're attached to these stats. I didn't care for this whatsoever. Aberrant's, wrong button. Took me a while. I've been playing too much Strangers of Paradise. So Aberrant Soldier is actually the one soul core you'll want to get to rank 30. I did not, just to see what it was like. And I can tell you it's very helpful if you get it up to rank 30. I wanted a core that could effectively double as a fast one and also has good anima generation, just naturally. And that's why I picked Aberrant Soldier, as both of those things at the same time. And then last but not least, I wanted a soul core that could really facilitate moments where combat was a little too heavy, and I wanted to escape from battle somewhat. So Waira was one of my choices. I did think of Ongyoki, but I found Waira to be a bit more aggressive, and I generally prefer it anyway. But you can trade this out for Ongyoki if that suits your fancy. So that's pretty much that. And then when we get to the Brute Guardian Spirit, I go with Baku, simply because using Itsumade, Tatarrimokke, and Tate Eboshi, they're all very high attunement cores, and it's just going to make sense for me to put it on a Brute Spirit that has a lot of attunement. And Baku works brilliantly with Corruption anyway, so yeah, pretty awesome. So Itsumade is one of the other soul cores you'll want to get to 30. A lot of synergy with Baku because it's both Corruption. Not to mention, Anima bonus and Purification is absolutely stellar. So if you can get into the habit of switching your Guardian Spirits on Key Pulse, or before your Key Pulse, you can get a lot of extra anima back if you purify the Yokai realm. Really, really awesome. Tatarrimokke, I kind of lucked out with this anima bonus. It's not that important. You can boost this one up to rank 32. Rank 30 as well, not rank 32. Because the Yokai ability damage against the corrupted enemies synergizes brilliantly with Itsumade. And not to mention, with the last soul core, Tate Eboshi, being able to boost your damage by a considerable amount against corrupted enemies, which I'm using corrupted weapons. So it's ridiculous. So Tate Eboshi is a big damage play. We have expensive cores here in general. 8 anima, 5 anima. If we go back to Janomecho, we've got a 7 anima. So I wanted to round it out with a 3 anima, and we've got a 5 anima, and then we've got Tatarrimokke, which you can use to help you generate some Yokai realms. Pretty handy. In case I didn't mention the weapons, which I don't believe I did. So I went with Sword and Kusarigama. You can see my stats here for the Corrupted Sword. Life Drain Active Skill, Imbue Corruption. The anima bonus on Grapple isn't really necessary because we have such good anima generation anyway, so you'll be alright. I went with Kusarigama simply because I haven't used it that much in my custom lessons, but you can feel free to swap this out with anything. But yeah, pretty fun, and there's a lot of cool weapon-based play that I can show. But that's what's going to be the setup for now. Let's get on to Yokai Shift. So with Yokai Shift, let's just show you what is possible. There are a lot of interesting things you can do in both forms. Let me get some, I guess, anima charge up in here real quick. So how would I recommend opening? Generally, you can go with the Nyotengu. Works pretty handy. You can use Aberrant Soldier every now and again. It's not as fluid as, say, the Oni-bis, so if you are interested in using the Oni-bis, feel free to substitute them in for Aberrant Soldier, but I prioritize the anima bonus on Aberrant Soldier over the fluidity that might exist with Yokai Shift when you use an Oni-bi. but that's ultimately going to be a matter of preference. By and large, there's a lot of crazy combo potential you have at your disposal. You can kind of just see some of the things that I do to make things flow seamlessly. I like the aspect of doing a charge attack into Waira right away so that you can get double stagger. And of course, being able to open as such when Janomecho does the tornado can be very handy. And then Aberrant Soldier is something you can weave in every now and again so you can get quick charge attacks. It's pretty handy. Whee! Alright, let's switch over to Brute, which is definitely very interesting in my book. So with Brute, given that we have overall very expensive soul cores, it's going to be important to plan this one out. So, alright, what you doing? Ah, that didn't work as I expected. But one way you can open up is use Baku with Tatarrimokke right away. And if you're fortunate to get multiple paralysis, great. Then you can use Itsumade afterwards. But since Tatarrimokke arguably takes the longest, I would advise going Baku and then using that right away. So you can get that key damage while you potentially paralyze a target. It can be devastating, as you can see there, when you can pull off Tate Eboshi after corrupting a target. So let me demonstrate this against a human. So if you're fortunate with the paralysis, awesome. But yeah, Baku into Tatarrimokke is pretty spicy. Oh, really now? Well, I'll just let you die. Come on, Itsumade, do Itsumade things. Nice. So with Itsumade, of course, when in Yokai Shift, I find it's going to be a little trickier to work with, if I'm going to be completely honest, because you are kind of stuck in the channeling animation. So I would kind of caution your use of it, but I'll still try to show you what's possible. So if you have the time to use it, go for it. Probably one of the riskier ones. And it's strange considering I'm using Tate Eboshi, but that's how I've seen it. But yeah, simple combo ideas. And then I guess you could use Itsumade there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Yokai Shift. Brute's gonna feel a little weird. But yeah, let's get on to the weapon-based combos. Now with using these weapons and together with the soul cores is actually gonna be a little weird. Simply because these are overall pretty expensive. We got 2 8 cost, a 7 cost, and then 2 5 cost, and then finally a 3 cost. So being able to use these soul cores well is gonna be very important. And for example, Tatarrimokke is gonna be arguably one of the weirdest to use together with all this stuff. So how can you work things into play with these weapons and make sure your anima's okay? And that's where Aberrant Soldier really comes in handy. Against Yokai, you won't have too much trouble, but I find that against humans you may have a little bit more difficulty, which is where Aberrant Soldier reigns king because of that anima bonus timely guard, which makes things so staple. Not to mention, we have ancient Nyotengu to really assist things. I missed there, but oh well. It really helps out deal with human opponents, which can be very frustrating. So we have anti-human cores already. Ancient Nyotengu, Waira, and even Aberrant Soldier all fulfill that purpose. Now let's see what I can show you. Interesting stuff like that is always very spicy. Nice. Perfectly timed the Guardian switch so that I could get that off. Against Yokai, you're not going to have that much trouble, comparatively speaking. If you have the free time to get an Itsumade, you can do some pretty serious damage. I got half its health with 1 core, that's pretty beefy. Very nice. I find that I use Itsumade quite religiously almost every opportunity I can because the damage potential for using enemy Yokai realms is huge. You can do the Tatarrimokke combo with Itsumade, which I'll show, in case you're not aware of what it is. After I kill this guy. Tate Eboshi missed, what a surprise. Oh, nice. Way to go, me. Alright, buddy, here. So the combo that I'm referring to, if you don't know, is you throw out Itsumade pools neutrally without locking on, and then assuming you have the anima, you can just detonate them at will. It's powerful, but it's not as powerful as you might think. So remember how I did half the health of the Yoki by using just its own yokai realm? Well, watch this now. So these are 4 of my own generated yokai pools. Alright. So I will do some more damage because of it generating its own pool, but you may have noticed that the other yokai realms didn't really seem to contribute that much. This should kill it though. That's great, but let me show it to you one last time with Tatarrimokke, and then just Itsumade. Hopefully it doesn't generate any yokai realms. Okay, so you'd expect this to like one-shot it, right? It did about the same amount of damage as anything else. Not that great, right? Now let me use its own yokai realm. It did even more. So yeah, the combo is alright, but it is woefully inefficient compared to just using enemy yokai realms. And now you know. But if you are going to use Tatarrimokke, my advice is to either use it for the max key damage or because you want to get a ton of anima back courtesy of Itsumade, not necessarily for the damage. Because at that point it's 13 anima and not really that much of a damage increase. No, I'm not going to give you the chicken bone right now. Very nice. And nice. Alright, let's show you a few more things and then we'll get into the gameplay showcase. Come on. Pretty neat, huh? Using Tatarrimokke is going to be a little tricky, in my opinion. But let me just show you some other things you can do. Just simple things to effectively guarantee you get the hit off. What you got? Aw, he didn't get up that time. Cool. Alright, well, I think that's good for now. Hopefully you got some useful information. I'll see you in the gameplay showcase, which is coming up in a bit. Alright, let's put this to the test in the Scroll of the Damned. This one involves a purple Ryomen Sukuna, but there's all sorts of irritating enemies we gotta deal with first. So when you see yokai realms, use Itsumade to detonate them and deal some serious damage. So Tesso's been dealt with, half health gone, but these Oni-bis are going to be very frustrating. Ouch, I'm losing so much ki, it's just such a nuisance. And even after performing a burst counter, I'm still getting staggered, so I gotta get used to dealing with these Oni-bis in a quick fashion. Unfortunately, I do kind of learn from my mistakes in a moment. But yeah, when you're in brute form, you'll have Itsumade's anima bonus, so you'll see me switch to the brute form for that very reason, just to take advantage of as much anima bonuses as possible. And here's another example of Itsumade doing great work. Spider health is over halfway gone, and then with some confusion it's dead. Alright, now with the Oni-bis, my general advice is to use quick moves like Aberrant Soldier or hyper armored attacks like Severing Spin when you have the opportunity, so that you can just shrug them off. Because the most annoying thing about them is just the fact that they quickly interrupt you and nothing else. They're not a big threat, maybe when they explode, but honestly they're just annoying, as are many enemies in this game. And here we go, we've got the Oni-bi. So I'll use Severing Spin, tank the damage, deal some AoE damage against some of these lighter and weaker enemies like Dwellers. Alright, we've got a Yokai Realm, so I'm using the Anima bonus from Itsumade to get a bunch back. I think I was trying to use Itsumade here, but I accidentally used Tatarrimokke, which was not intentional. So now I'm looking for the next best moment to use Itsumade, and again, whenever you see Yokai Realms, just detonate them. Watch this, boom! Absolutely devastating amount of damage. Then I use Tate Eboshi, and this thing's dead. That's it, and it can be so powerful when you have the anima. Unfortunately, a lot of the anima bonuses help. But now we're on Ryomen Sukuna. So Ryomen isn't necessarily the most challenging enemy, but he is certainly an enemy in which if you get complacent, you will die. Because he doesn't necessarily stop fighting or doing anything like ever. He has a lot of range attacks, but worst of all is he can quickly inflict confusion on you, and then you can die very quickly. So again, do not get cocky when you fight this guy. I make the mistake here, I nearly die. And yeah, I learned my mistake, and I try to play carefully from that point on. Once you get comfortable with being aggressive against him, then it's not too bad, but until then, do not get complacent. So anyways, back to the fight. So I need to make sure that I don't get confused. I use Waira a little poorly and watch my health very low. A next hit would have killed me, which would have sucked, but let's see if I can make up for it with some Yokai Shift action. Great. Janomecho, by the way, is fantastic to use if you're in a critical state. Critical Yokai Shift, if I'm not mistaken, is extra powerful. Now, one thing that is unfortunate is that I'm not able to get the full benefits of Yokai Shift this time around, so this is mostly going to be weapon-based play. I just made mistakes during this fight because Ryomen just happens to do things a little awkwardly at times for me when I was trying to do things in Yokai Shift. In any case, his ki is overall very low, and of course with the soul cores that we have at our disposal, the ki damage isn't necessarily going to be a problem. Great. Alright, so I have quite a bit of anima. I was hoping to use Itsumade. I used Tatarrimokke instead, and I deal a great amount of ki damage. Bear in mind that this is a purple enemy, so being able to do ki damage is going to be a little harder than normal. Alright, can I get the ki down? No, just was not able to. Alright, let's see if I can get it down pretty soon. So I'm keeping my distance, being much more cautious than I normally would be. Nice, got the brute counter. Let's get some extra damage. Here's Tate Eboshi, gonna do an amazing amount of damage. By the way, you might have heard my cat's bell in the background. So yeah, in case you heard that, now you know I have a cat. Alright, Itsumade doing some more work. Excellent, doing a lot of ki damage. I don't anticipate I'll be able to remove all of his ki. I'll get close, so I'm just gonna go all out with as many attacks as I can, so that once he enters the Dark Realm, I don't have to worry too much about it. Alright, gotta be careful. Let's get some damage dealt. Oh, Waira, that was pretty interesting how I avoided that attack. I'm gonna try to get back into Yokai Shift. Here we go. Now, I wanted to play with the brute form, but you're gonna see it runs up very quickly. It's just again bad luck. He does a burst attack, and I was like, crap. I wanted to use Fang Break. It didn't work out, so it's just such a shame that I couldn't take advantage of the brute form. Otherwise, this fight would have been done much more quickly. But nonetheless, now that I have made sure not to get complacent, the fight is overall going in my favor, which is pretty good. So, alright, just don't get cocky. That's basically the biggest thing you can do against Ryomen as you try to be aggressive against him. I use Waira, which does help, gives me some good ki damage. And alright, we're getting very close to the end of the fight. Oh boy. Oh, those arrows! God dang it, man. Alright, hey, looks like I got him out of ki. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do that. Excellent, so the fight's nearly over. I'm going to use Itsumade because I know I can get away with it. Big damage dealt from Itsumade is fantastic. And then Kuruma's Sword Dance finishes up the fight. So yeah, this was certainly a fun little experiment. Thank you guys so much for watching. I certainly hope this was instructive and very helpful, and I will of course see you guys next time.